This ugly girl suddenly realizes that she looks exactly like the millionaire woman who disappeared from the internet. At first she thought she was blind, until she showed it to her brother. The two of them instantly had a bold idea. If Mary could return to her husband as a rich woman and get the money, they'd have all the riches and honor in the world. So her brother bought her a pair of brown contacts to cover up her blue eyes, so that she would look like a rich woman. That night, Mary came to the police station and cried that she was a rich woman who had been trafficked for 5 years. When her rich husband arrived, he was so excited that he couldn't speak at first sight. He took her home immediately and served her like a slave every day. Mary thought she had played her part very well. But the next day, her husband's sister, Lisa, noticed something strange about her. She never took sugar in her tea, but Mary insisted on giving it to her. What's more, the rich woman who was always afraid of piercings now had a hole in her nose. When confronted, Mary hastened to explain that she had been trafficked and imprisoned for many years, and her memory was impaired because of the pain. As for the piercing, she got it the day before she disappeared and wanted to surprise her at the time. When Lisa heard this, she instantly thought she had been overthinking things. But the next day, when she applied for Mary's credit card, she was surprised to find that the left-handed woman was now signing with her right hand. She suspected that her sister-in-law was a fake and told her rich brother immediately. But he says she must be mistaken. It's ridiculous. Even when Lisa invited the sheriff to talk to him, she said that when she described the trafficker's face, she always disguised herself as a movie villain, as if she was hiding something. Rich still expresses his belief in his wife, saying that after sharing a bed with her for 5 years, could he be mistaken? And he turns around and writes his sister's and the sheriff's suspicions on a note and secretly hands it to his fake wife. Mary is horrified and immediately makes an appointment to see her brother to ask him why he didn't tell her that the rich woman was left-handed. Her brother explained that he hadn't noticed before. Now, to be on the safe side, her brother applies for the rich man's chauffeur and also enters the rich man's house. That day, Mary finally stole some confidential documents, but upon closer inspection, they were not checks and could not be exchanged for money. Her brother told her to go back and keep looking. But then Lisa suddenly came looking for her. Seeing that she was already on the terrace, the two of them hurriedly hid in a corner. But Lisa was already in front of her. Just as she was about to turn around, the rich man suddenly had something to do with his sister and took her away. So the two of them weren't discovered. I thought the crisis was over, but after Mary took a shower, she realized she had left her contacts in the bedroom. The tycoon was sitting in the bedroom. She clenched her teeth and tried not to make a sound. She finally got her contacts, but when she turned around, she dropped the box on the floor. She thought it was the end of her life, but the tycoon didn't pay any attention to her. He'd been wearing headphones the whole time. Mary had a false alarm and continued to gain the tycoon's trust the next day. But Lisa didn't let go of her suspicions and went to the sheriff every night to talk to him about how to prove that Mary was a fake. Until this night, when the tycoon was out, she suddenly called and said she had thought of a way to prove that her sister-in-law had a birthmark on her back, and that she could tell if she was real just by looking at her. Mary's brother was horrified when he heard this and immediately got out of the car to call Mary to remind her. But she fell asleep and didn't answer the phone, and he had to be called away by the tycoon to go home. As soon as Mary opened her eyes, she saw Lisa and a group of police officers, who held her down and stripped her of her clothes without waiting for her to react. But Lisa was surprised to find that her sister-in-law did have a birthmark on her back, and she couldn't believe her eyes. The tycoon came home at the same time, and Mary immediately shrank into his arms. Lisa then realized that she was wrong, and quickly invited her to dinner at the hotel to apologize, and let the sheriff immediately end the investigation of the case. And as a celebrity chef, the tycoon himself cooks the meal. In the face of Lisa's apology, Mary immediately chose to forgive. The tycoon stroked her head lovingly, and Mary finally gained the trust of both siblings. It wasn't long before she was in line for a fortune. But the tycoon was aware of her scheme and knew from the first moment he met her that she was a fake, because his real wife was sent to heaven by his own hand 5 years ago for cheating on him. In order to cover up the crime, he used his excellent cooking skills to handle his wife perfectly and finally served the food at the sheriff's wedding banquet. That meal was the pinnacle of his career, and the sheriff can't forget it until now. And Mary's brother had just been called outside by him to run an errand, and if he wasn't mistaken, had been in an automobile accident by this time. As for Mary, the tycoon suddenly had bold plans for her.